Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Hi, Ian. Good morning. How are you? Can everyone hear me? Can you let me know in the text box below? Chuck, Timothy, wonderful you can hear me. Fantastic. One of my goals with these sessions was I really want to just help people build their career in any way they can possibly can. Wonderful. Hi, folks. If you're willing to leave a comment in the comment section below, I'm going to be giving out some free prizes on this call. And I'm going to basically look for people whose names are actually in the comments, not just in this window, but in the comments section below to the video. And by the end of this video, I may have some free gifts that are going to make a lot of people happy. So welcome, everyone. The point of this call is really to basically help people find their optimal careers. So if you were to join us on, say, a Monday or a Thursday, we talk about what the hiring manager desires, what are the hiring manager's goals, what does the CEO want, how to get your hands in the hiring manager, how to avoid HR. And we will talk about all those kinds of things on our Monday and Thursday free career sessions, along with, how to interview, how to negotiate a higher salary, those types of things. But in today's videos that we do every Wednesday now, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to help people plan their careers. See, what happens is every day I go to social media and I see someone say, I want to get into tech or I want to be a cloud architect, which is great. We love to hear this. And everybody comes up with all these recommendations. But the problem is no one ever asked the person, what is your dream job on the cloud? And they never asked the person, where are you starting from? So if we know your starting point and we know your destination point, we can help you build a real plan. So hi, Ez. Hi, Nikhil. Hi, Gopi, Cedric, Timothy. It's really great. For those of you that have not joined yet, please leave your name in the comment sections below this video. We're going to be giving out some free things at the end of this course. So I'm going to be looking for the names that are actually there to give some things out. So please do leave your name in the comment section below and leave a comment of some kind. Good afternoon, David Davies. So really my goal here is basically to have some people say, tell me what their goals are or what their dreams are, and I'll clarify it. Now, if you guys have some questions about any particular topic, I'm happy to answer that too. This is your time. It's one of the free things we do once per week. Just to let everybody know, if you don't already know, on Mondays, every Monday, we have 2 free sessions. We have one session where we talk about building your cloud architect career, and then after that, we do free AWS mentoring at 2 p.m., and everybody's welcome. I'll drop the links in this section right now. So please, everybody is welcome. And also on Thursday, we do a career webinar, and Wednesday, we do this. So any way that we can help you build your career would be there. So, okay, Danish, you would be want to be more into meeting or dealings with clients. Is that your goal career? You want to do something where you're going to be interacting more with clients? Is that correct, Danish? Because if so, we can definitely help you with that. Danish, could you said, okay, which roadmap should I follow? So before I give you a roadmap, Danish, which I'm more than happy to do, I'd like you to tell me what your background is, the type of experience you have, what your training and certification portfolio looks like, and then what type of interactions you'd like to do with clients, whether it's pre-sales, post-sales, support, and I'll help you build a plan for that. And while you're answering that, I'm going to drop some free training options in this window for the people that are here. Oh, apparently I have too many characters in what I was trying to do. Okay, George, you're next. As soon as we finish Danish's question. So Danish, you said you had some goals in being in the cloud. I'll answer answer real quick while I'm waiting for that. SysOp roles are typically less in dealing with the customer than other roles, but they could be under the right circumstances. Oh, Chuck, you should be able to leave a comment in the comment section underneath the video. Let me check and verify that that's actually true. So, okay, so The answer is
the answer is
maybe it's not as easy to leave a comment. I'll just work through here, but today somebody definitely is going to get we're going to give out some nice prizes to some people. So Danish, you've been an IT analyst for years. You're a CCNA, great, means you've got some networking background, an MCSA, and a cloud practitioner. Excellent information. So, Danish, where would you like to interact with clients? Are you interested in being in the pre-sale side, more of the consultancy side, like a principal consulting engineer, or are you looking for something different? Okay, well, Danish, while I'm waiting for your answer, I'm going to try and look at some of the questions that are actually here. But Danish, as soon as you tell me where you want to be on the cloud, I'll help you build that plan. Okay, you want to be principal consulting role. Okay, that changes everything. So Danish, here's what my suggestion is. If you want to be a consulting architect, and I've worked as a consulting architect for a long time, really that's about depth of knowledge. Basically, what's going to happen to be a principal consulting architect that's going to interact with clients is you're going to have some deep knowledge. Basically, you're going to need to know a lot about a small amount of things. So for example, I started in networking. I spent over 10,000 hours working in just BGP. Now, every time I gave a BGP presentation or I give a cloud presentation, someone offered me a job. And the point is you're going to have depth of knowledge. So if you're looking for a consulting engineering type role, you're going to have to focus on three things. You're definitely going to need a certified solutions architect professional. But you're also going to have pick a specialty. So for example, Danish, if you wanted to do something in networking, like networking on the cloud, what I would say is that you basically would need to do maybe a CCNP, the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, the AWS Advanced Networking. The AWS Advanced Networking, let me tell you, is basic. It only covers like 2% of the networking world. And actually, I can tell you, it's nothing compared to the CCNP level. But having said that, it shows you how to do things on the cloud. So if you want to do some consulting on the cloud, Danish, my recommendation is to get the CCNP if you wanted to do networking. I don't know if you want to do networking. And then it would be a Certified Solution Architect Professional, and then it would be an AWS Advanced Networking. Now, if you wanted to do something in security, that would change. So I'd really like to know where you want to be consulting on the cloud. But if you wanted to do something in security, I would say get a CEH or a CISSP, the Certified Solution Architect Professional, and the AWS Advanced Security. But tell me where you want to be, and I'll give you much more guidance. And then while I'm waiting for that, I'm reading the next sets of questions because I want to make sure I get everyone's questions. Okay, well, Danish, I'll wait for you to answer that. But I've given you a guidance that basically you need some professional level certification. You're going to need a specialty industry certification, and then you're going to need some type of certification in AWS and or Google or Azure, it doesn't matter. That's going to show that you know how to configure things on the cloud. Until you get back to me, I'm going to go to George since he was the next person that asked a question. You have both AWS and Azure certs, but no hands-on experience. Okay, that's pretty common. And let me see, it looks like if you mentioned anything else. Okay, so when you have certification but no experience, it's harder to get a job, and that's really our specialty as an organization, is taking people without experience and getting them experience. In fact, I'd say most of what we do is we take people that have 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 AWS certifications, and then we actually teach them cloud computing. I say this, and I don't want this to come across wrong. I interview thousands of people every day in my life, and I interview at least 150 people per week. Every week. And let me tell you, it is very rare for me to ask a question to an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and have them be able to answer it with any level of depth, which is why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, where our people learn the cloud from the ground up. So, George, I can give you 2 pieces of advice. One is we have a specialty program, which we can talk about if you're interested, but more importantly, you need to learn how the cloud works. And what I mean by how the cloud works, anyone can basically use the management console and configure an EC2 instance in the AWS cloud. When we make our training videos, I borrow my friend's 8-year-old little daughter, and she clicks the buttons on the management console, and I talk. And that way I can focus on speaking in the management console. So that is not how you build cloud computing knowledge. It will build no knowledge, no depth, no anything. What will? If you can look at the cloud and what it truly is, the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center. And when you realize the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center, and you look at it from the perspective of the network and the data center, cloud computing becomes the simplest concept in the world. Because why? It's just a virtualized network and data center, and being virtualized, all the hard work is done for you from Amazon. And the key is, it's really hard to learn cloud computing if you don't learn the network and the data center first. I like to say it's kind of like, I like broccoli as a vegetable. If I describe broccoli to you and you've never seen it before in your life, it's hard to understand what it truly is. But if you've gone to the grocery store, you picked up broccoli, then you've cleaned the broccoli, then you cooked the broccoli, and then you eat the broccoli, you know broccoli. And for example, I have students that I'm working with for less than 2 weeks, and they're already getting job offers. My first one of my students went on an interview this morning, and they said, okay, this is not the perfect role for you, but we've got these 3 other roles, and go pick one. Why? Because they knew that he could interview. They knew he had cloud competency, and they knew he was technically competent. So for people that are there that don't have a high degree of technical competency, and no experience, I want you to get your experience at home. And I'm going to drop a video in this comment section. It was a video that I created so that people could actually get real cloud architect experience at home. I created this for this one reason. I noticed there were just so many people that were certified as cloud architects, but they didn't really know anything about cloud computing. And for that, I created this video on how to get your. So what we do with a lot of our people is, first, we have servers. They can actually access our servers. But we recommend people typically buy a cheap refurbished server, something that's about $500. And what we do on these servers, we set up server virtualization, we set up containers, we set up proxy servers, we set up firewalls, we create load balancers in the servers. We even build our own clouds. So my students last weekend were having a Zoom party at my house, and they were setting up a cloud. And a cloud consists of 2 items. I told you the network and the data center. But that's what it's physically. But logically, you've got basically a manager, which is called the control plane, and you've got the data plane, which is basically your servers and your storage. And that's it. That's all there really is to a cloud. So my students actually build the cloud from scratch. But I'm telling you, you guys could all build the cloud from scratch too, if you wanted to do it. In fact, all you would really need to do is download OpenStack, Ansible, take a big server, put the control plane in a virtual machine, create a couple of virtual machines for the data plane, and that's it. You actually have built your own cloud, and you will get some really deep cloud computing knowledge. Now, it can be a pretty daunting thing to do, and that's why we have a plan and programs for our students, but the point is it can be done. Now, this video I'm dropping in here for you, George, is really about how to get cloud architect experience at home. And it's a list of labs that you can do in your house, server virtualization, firewalls, building your own clouds. I will be producing many more videos on how to do it for free. For example, at 10 a.m. this morning, there's a new video that we're releasing on containers for cloud architects. Yesterday, we had one on Linux for cloud architects and a virtualization one for cloud architects. We're going to be building a library to help all of you learn cloud computing, and that we're going to release for free in the next couple of weeks. Our students obviously get lots of advantages because not only do we teach them the cloud, do they build the cloud, we teach them how to interview, we teach them executive presence, we teach them soft skills, we teach them all the tech. But for any of you that are very interested, by all means, find a way to build a cloud from scratch. Once you build the cloud, once you set up server virtualization, everything else is easy. The other thing that you're going to need to do, George, because you've got a really good background, IT, virtualization, storage, engineering. I didn't see that when we first spoke. If you get storage and you get virtualization, then the only thing missing really is networking and containers for you. And you may actually know containers that may be listed on your virtualization. But I would probably get a professional certification for you, George, as well. So George, professional level certification, build the fundamental lab skills. And if you've got 20 years in IT, virtualization, and storage engineering, that's a lot. You're struggling to find what you're looking for, then really where you're going to need to do is you're going to actually need to focus on your interviewing skills, your executive presence, your resume skills. because most of the people that I worked with that had 20 years IT engineering and 20 years in networking, for example, they transitioned to the cloud even without being certified. So George, if you want us to work with you, we can definitely do that. George, if you want to tell me a little bit more about yourself, I can probably provide you some better guidance. Oh, you have CCNA and CCNP. So really, George, you have everything. Now, the question I would ask you is related to technical competency. How strong do you feel on Cisco networking? And Timothy, yes, OpenStack Ansible is wonderful. If you've done that, you definitely are in a position to actually be a fantastic cloud architect. And Timothy, I will definitely get to you. I just wanted to make sure I had a chance to get to Danish, who asked this question first, and then George, who asked this question second. And I will get to everyone on this group. And at some point in this group, you're going to have to wait till the end, but there will be some very nice free prizes that are related to training that I think a lot of people are really going to like. And it will help fill in the gaps between cloud architect knowledge and where people currently are. So, any more questions, George? George? Because it looks like you already have a pretty good background if you've got the CCNP and you've got the storage background. The key is, there's something missing if you're struggling to get a cloud architect job. And I can help you with that if you desire, but I need a little better information. Okay. So, you have not worked as a network engineer, but an enterprise. Okay, George, you have not, but you have done a lot of troubleshooting in networking. Okay. So if you haven't done any OSPF or BGP design, George, I would probably refresh my knowledge on BGP. The two things that I would really worry about with regards to BGP, George, or when to use eBGP, when to use iBGP. I would brush up on the concept of the route reflector, George, because Cloud Hub is basically an eBGP version of a route reflector because it solves the same problem of non-transitive routing. The other thing that I would do, George, if I really wanted to be good, is I would learn how to load share without creating out-of-order packets in a BGP environment. Very few of us know how to do it, but on the cloud, that would make you really great. I didn't expect you to be a BGP expert, George, but these are the things that I would study. Basically, all you really need to know in BGP as a cloud architect is, the BGP decision algorithm, meaning like prefer the path with the largest weight, prefer the path with the largest local preference, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because these are the things that you can use to tune them. You're obviously going to know BGP TCP port 179 to open up firewalls, but you're also going to have to really know how to load share. See, what typically happens is, let's say you have a direct connection and a backup direct connection connecting to the cloud. AWS would typically speaking, unless you do something to both sides of the link, you'll have both links up. But what's going to happen is your traffic's going to go out one direction and come back another direction based upon internet routing, and that could be a disaster. So AWS would teach you how to basically block one link and use the other. But if you have some talent in BGP, you can basically you can actually use both links so they can get the performance of both and not the out-of-order packets. And every internet service provider in the world does this, and every large global enterprise does this. And you can too. So I'm saying get some BGP knowledge. Basically, load sharing, route filtering, and the BGP decision algorithm. Nothing, it's not all the complex things are not there, George, but you've got a CCNP. So when it comes to AWS, you're only dealing with one routing protocol. I guess you could do a static route and you can do some very, very minor BGP. So AWS BGP is not complicated like Cisco or Juniper could be because you just have less features. But George, I would definitely do that. Now, George, you didn't tell me what kind of cloud architect job you actually wanted, though. Okay, so George, the issue is not learning BGP routes, it's actually knowing how to influence the decision. So for example, do you prepend an AS? Do you change the weight? Do you send a more specific route? That's really what I need you to understand for the direct connection. It's not the stuff that you'd see in the AWS books, it's the stuff that you actually have to do as a real life cloud architect, which is really path manipulation and optimization. But George, where do you really want to be? Do you want to be on the network side of the cloud? Do you want to be on the security side of the cloud? Do you want to be on the IAM side of the cloud, for example? So we can make sure we get all your certifications, training, and background to match. Okay, George, I don't know where you want to go on the cloud, so I'm going to speak in generic terms. If you have the Azure expert and you've got networking background and you understand this basic BGP concept we're talking about, and you can get some good, strong Linux knowledge, you were looking for a general solution architect, George. Okay, perfect. So pick up the Azure expert, pick up the AWS certified solution expert, optimize your BGP knowledge, and go through the years of experience that you have and find out how it's related to cloud computing. If you did troubleshooting, if you did design, were there storage error networks, and so if so, what did you do? If you worked with block storage and object storage, which you probably have, then realistically speaking, there's nothing new here. And that's where I'm trying to say. But if you've got all this experience and you're struggling, there's usually something else, and it's typically related to resume, executive presence, or speech. But what you have sounds like a good experience. Just learn how the stuff works. And I'm not saying that you don't, but when I do 100 or so interviews a week, maybe 150 in today's world, because people constantly want to enter my cloud architect career development program, and I'm thrilled to have them as students, but I can't take everybody. I can only take people that I know I can make successful. It's just not fair to sell a program to someone if you don't think you can help them. So I'm pretty selective. And when I do interviews, I find out what people know and don't know. And I will tell you, the majority of the people that have a certified solution architect professional or above still don't know the cloud. And you can all learn the cloud, and you can all do it in your house, and you can all get hired really fast and really easy for good salaries. You just have to know how everything works, not just how to configure it. So, George, I'll leave you with that. The professional level, optimize your BGP knowledge. George, if you don't have a good Linux background, pick up a Linux background. It doesn't have to be great. Sometimes all you need to do to understand Linux is to switch your main computer to Linux and play with it for 6 months, and then you're going to be really great. And you've more specialized in the last few years in NAS storage. Okay, George, you got everything. Just get your professional level of knowledge and then translate on your resume the experiences that you've had and how they're directly related to the cloud. Most of the cloud providers are really looking for data center networking and storage experience, and you have it. So highlight that and you'll be good to go. Okay, now there's a bunch of people that had asked questions, and I'm going to be getting to every question on a one-by-one basis. So Gopi, was the next question. You said you're a legacy app dev background, which is great. You completed 3 certifications, SA Pro in networking, and aspire to become a cloud architecture. Okay, I think you may have asked another question, Gopi, along the way, and I will get to everyone, I promise. You're from mainframe application development and program management development. You have completed, okay, so Gopi, I'm trying to figure out if you are a software developer or a technical program manager or both. Is that the case? Because I'm seeing mainframe application development. Okay, so you've done both. Okay. So, and Adad, bro, you have a good background too. We'll get to you very soon. So you've been a technical PM, but you started out in coding and then moved to a technical PM. I'm assuming that's correct? Trying to make sure we get to every. Okay, so you've got that. So Gopi, the question I would have would be the depth of your knowledge. And I can tell you what I could ask a tech, and if anybody's willing for me to really be able to give you extra good advice, I would actually ask each one of you a technical question to gauge your level of technical knowledge, and then from there I can make a recommended plan. Is anybody willing for that? I won't ask more than 1 or 2 questions of each person, but if you're willing, I would like to do that because that'll give you a good baseline, especially when I'm dealing with someone with a high level of certifications. And George, I'm a Cisco routing and switching guy too. My CCI number is 7417, and I can definitely help you as well as Abad. Taking network people and moving to the cloud is really easy. So, okay, Gopi, you're willing. Chuck, you're willing. Gopi, you said you were a certified solution architect professional, which is fantastic. Can you tell me why we cannot use AWS Route 53 if we require a high security environment? Specifically, we're worried about man-in-the-middle attacks. Gopi, let me know if you have an answer for that. Put it in the window. If you don't have an answer, just say no, and that's okay either way. I just want to know how to best guide you. Okay, I'm going to take silence as that's an answer that you're not familiar with, in which case I'm going to ask you another question that's going to be on the relatively easy side to try and gauge your background. So let's pick something easy. Can anybody, Gopi, can you explain the real difference between block storage and object storage to me? Gopi, can you answer that? Okay, maybe you didn't hear me. Whatever the case may be, it's no big deal. Okay, HES, you can hear me. Okay, great, Gopi. Did you have an answer for those? If the answer is yes, put it in the window. If not, just please let me know. Oh, you're writing. Okay, sorry about that. Well, you're writing down an answer, and I'm going to have a really good baseline. I'm going to go through the, because I want to give you a really detailed answer. But the easiest one is going to be, question to answer is, let me go to, so for Abad, Berkey, and for George Cantillo, you're a Cisco routing and switching guy. For George, I'm going to need to understand your depth of knowledge. But for Abad Berkey, if you've got a CCIE and service provider and data center, you basically, like me, have been building clouds for a long period of time. The reason you've been building clouds is the network is nothing more than a data center and a network, and the CCIEs out there have been doing this forever. At least when I did my CCIE, it used to even be a 2-day test, and it was a miserable exam back 20 years ago. But the point is you want to be more cloud. So for you, Abad Berkey, all you really need to do is get a cloud certification. I would probably do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. You might do that as a first step. With the CCIE background, you're familiar with so many of these things. My first certification was a professional cloud architect with Google, and realistically speaking, you would be in good shape. Now for George, I don't know your routing and switching, but let me get back to Gopi. But for you, just get one certification, that either the Google Professional Cloud Architect or the AWS Certified Solution Architect, and make sure on your resume you listed all the server virtualization containers, listed all the routing, the switching, the firewalling, and all the things that I know you actually did. So George, block storage is storage in sized volumes or files, or object storage in pieces of data. Actually, that's partially true. The real difference between object storage and block storage is basically the way it's worked. Block storage they're all RAID arrays, but in block storage, data is placed anywhere on the block where it's fastest. So because the data can be placed anywhere on the block or anywhere where it's most efficient on the drives, you get extra performance. Block storage is network storage, but it can feel a lot like file storage by the way the machines access them. Object storage is very different. Instead of data being broken down into blocks, with block storage, it's broken down into objects. And what happens is you've got the data, it gets broken down in these little pieces called objects, and each object actually has metadata. What's so great about the metadata is it gives you information, because metadata is data about data, and therefore you can do really great things in object storage, such as run SQL queries and the such. Block storage is almost always used for files that change rapidly. Object storage outside of AWS is never used for rapidly changing files. The reason object storage is not used for rapidly changing files is every time an object is modified or a piece of data is modified, it creates a new version. So when AWS says versioning, what they're really referring to is that It's a natural function that comes with block storage. They actually have to shut it off to make it not to hot right, because basically you have a file, if 50 servers access the file in one day and use it, make a slight modification, you'll have 50 new objects. So object storage is typically not used for data that frequently changes. So Gopi, where I'm coming from is I would focus more on depth of knowledge, and the depth of knowledge that would understanding, how does the storage architecture work exactly in depth. And I know you've got some good background there, but how does it work? What affects the speed and the performance? Does the network card affect your EBS volume performance? And the answer is it does. And why? Because it's not exactly directly attached storage, even though it's logically. So for you, Gopi, I would just practice on some of the fundamental things, because I think your background already looks so good. So focus on the fundamentals. And as you focus a little bit on the fundamentals, I think you're going to be in a really fantastic position. Just the rest of your resume. Add Berkey. Do you need Linux certification, Kubernetes, and Docker? Not for you with 2 CCIEs, not at all. But you probably need to learn Linux. So what I mean by learning Linux, just take your desktop and run Linux on it for a couple months. That's all you're going to need to know. With someone with 2 CCIEs that's almost done a CCDE, which is a major architecture certification, that would be good. So a walk in the clouds. Yes, it would be nice if you ask questions to each of us and understand their level. That is my preference. When people do my webinars or I speak to them, that's what I always do. I will do that. I'll walk on the clouds for the rest of the people that are here. And if they don't want to answer my questions, they can tell me otherwise, because I don't want to put people on the spot and make them uncomfortable. I want to create a supportive environment where we can provide free training when people need it and they're not afraid to ask. So next on the list was Iasu Iohannis. What an interesting name. That's really great. So Iasu in Greek means hello. And Iohannis is actually another Greek name. I speak Greek in the house. So you're coming from a finance and accounting, but want to change your career with, I don't know what you mean by the files, but you want a good opportunity. So we deal with people in your situation every day in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. In your case, you're going to really have to do a few things. One is you're going to have to translate your background in finance and accounting to a cloud architect role. And what do I mean translate your background, Yasu? Or Jiasu? The reason I mean is, for example, in finance, for example, or accounting, there's a methodology. And whether you're looking at accounting, it could be a FIFO accounting or LIFO accounting, but whatever the case may be, there's a process for how you take inputs and you create outputs at speed and time. There's a methodological approach in accounting where you've got to do this, and things need to balance. Guess what? In an architecture, that same level of attention to detail matters. So you need to be able to tell future employers that. In accounting or finance, the rules and regulations change every year. You know what? When you're dealing with internet stuff and you're dealing with PCI DSS or HIPAA, a lot of the rules and regulations change every year too. So when you look at your background, and this is what I do with all my 9 tech people, including me. I used to practice medicine. I went straight from medicine to my first role was a senior network engineer with one of the 10 largest ISPs in the world. I showed them that my background was completely related. And we work with our students in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program every day, and it's amazing how fast they can actually get hired. It's amazing how well people reach out to them, because when you've learned how to say what your background is and how it can help you in your future job, you're going to be golden. So I would say work on that. Now, when you don't have a tech background, you're going to need to do something to make yourself look extra good. So you're going to need probably 2 different professional level certifications, but I'd like to know what you'd like to do in the cloud. Yasu Iohannis, and I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. Do you know what you'd like to do in the cloud? Maybe generic cloud stuff, networking stuff, security stuff. If you can give me some guidance of what you'd like to do, I can give you a much better plan. You could let me know in the comment section below. Okay, Iohannis, I didn't see a response from you, so I'm going to give you generic advice that I would give to people that I would typically see that have come to me with no background. And if you give me more information, I can definitely get a little deeper. So when you're dealing without a tech background, I would probably get, if you wanted to take a generic cloud architect job, I would probably get these 2 certifications. I would probably get the Google Professional Cloud Architect as well as the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. I took the Google Professional Cloud Architect because it's a harder exam, but it also shows cloud computing knowledge. So the AWS exam is like, here's the AWS services and how do you configure them. The Google exam is more like read a 3-page case study about all the servers and all the storage and all the messaging applications and everything that's going on in someone's environment, and then read all of this just like a real data center and then answer an architecture question. They're very, very different exams. So you take the Amazon Certified Solution Architect Professional, the Google Professional Cloud Architect, learn some Linux, and then you're going to need to pick another industry certification to prove some degree of competency. If you want to do something on the networking, the CCNP is great. There's a Red Hat certified engineer that's great. So when you have no tech background, you have to look really fancy on paper. And that means a couple of professional level certifications. Don't waste your time getting 6 associate certifications. The worst thing I can do, and I hate when I see someone that has 4 different associate level certifications because they're hard. These little associate level certifications are just as hard as the professional ones because you can make any exam complicated. You can make the cloud practitioner exam complicated too, and it is, even though the concepts are light. So my recommendation for you is a couple of professional level certifications and an industry one. And if you want to drop in exactly your specialty, that would be there. But generally, we like some kind of a CCNA or CCNP, and we typically like a Linux certification. As that's our generic guidance for people that are just looking to break into the world, but without us knowing. So Timothy, okay, so who's next? Let me go back to the list. Ralph Garcia, are you still there? Could you let me know in the comment section below or in the window? Ralph, are you still there? If you are, I'm going to answer your question. Please let me know. Marithi, super excited to see you on this call, and I will definitely get to you. Just trying to answer Ralph's question. I just want to make sure he's still there. Okay. Well, Ralph, if you're here, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed to the next question. And then if you're still here, let me know, in which case I'll get straight to you. So Nikhil was next. Hi, Mike. You're into telecom, BSS, and OSS application support with 12 main skills, PL, SQL, scripting, and Python. Recently passed the SAA. Okay. Nikhil, what is it you want to do on the cloud? It looks to me you want to be on the scripting side, the database side, the security side, the networking side. Where would you like to be? Okay, Nikhil, I'm not hearing a response from you. Okay, you're here. Support. You're into software support. Is that your goal to stay on support, or would you like to do something else, Nikhil? If you want to do software support on the cloud, that's great. Or do you want to do something different on the cloud? You're mainly into software support. You would like to be a solution architect. Okay. What kind of solution architect? Something that's doing generic cloud architect work, or someone that's doing something specialty in the software space, or something special? Because the reason I'm asking these deep questions is most people don't realize there are people that are cloud architects that do nothing other than IAM. There are people that do cloud architects that do nothing other than networking. There are cloud architects that do nothing other than security. And yes, security is different than IAM. There are cloud architects that literally focus on databases. You want a generic role. Okay, Nikhil, I'm going to ask you a tech question or two. What I need you to do is be very responsive and either just say yes or no. And that'll give me your knowledge, since it sounds like you already passed the SAA. When would you use a relational database versus a NoSQL database? And Ralph, sounds good. We'll get to you. Absolutely. We'll get back to you because I know I have some questions. Nikhil, can you answer that question? And if you can, just let me know yes, and then I'll wait for it. And if no, the answer is no, I'm okay with that too. It doesn't really matter. I just want to help you build a better plan based upon your baseline. Nikhil, and if you don't want me to ask a question, that's fine too. Just let me know in the comment section below. So David, that's partially correct. Okay, so what I was really looking for, Nikhil, okay, so this is the difference between architecture knowledge versus certification knowledge. So people use a relational database when they want to be able to find the relationships between variables. One thing affects another one. People use a NoSQL database when they need to work with a large volume of information and they need incredible levels of scalability. Why are NoSQL databases more scalable? They have a much more flexible schema. And not only are they more flexible, you can partition the database, which effectively makes it look like a new logical database instance. So NoSQL databases are 10 times more scalable. So you would really use a relational database to basically see Mike Gibbs purchased this product at a certain time, send your advertising to Mike Gibbs for networking type products. No, hi Selma and Zema, I'm thrilled you're here. David, glad you're learning. That's the whole reason we're running these calls. Learning is a fantastic process. So where are we going here? I guess my point is, Nikhil, we've got a lot of things to learn, and that is completely okay. Every one of us learns, and I learn every single day. So Nikhil, I'd say that you need to get some real baseline knowledge. That's what you're really going to need. The people in our program get heavy duty cloud architect knowledge. I mean, last weekend they were building a cloud in my house, and we have a bunch of servers my students use to get real cloud experience. Configuring the EC2 instance or setting up S3 is meaningless as it comes to becoming a cloud architect. Knowing when to use S3 versus EFS, totally relevant as an architect. Being able to configure them, perfect for the exam, but anybody can figure things when you know what they are, the real challenges. So for you, I'd say definitely you need the certified solution architect professional, but you're also, Nikhil, going to really need to learn this stuff and how it works. So my recommendation is we've created a set of labs to get cloud experience at home for the generic infrastructure. And then I would say, in your case, since you want to do more generic things on the cloud, that I would actually get some training from Cisco. And I would also, even if you're certified, I'd make sure that you could answer good, strong BGP questions. I'd get some Linux experience if you already don't have it. You may, coming from the mainframe background. But I would work to build depth of knowledge. I wouldn't worry about learning as many things. I'd worry about really getting good. We like to tell our students when they interview to be an expert on 3 things and be able to answer a prepared answer on 3 complicated topics. And that way, when someone goes on a job interview and they get a technical interview and someone asks them a question that says, hi, Nikhil. And first they say, tell you about yourself, and then you have a pre-planned answer and you give them a good answer. And then they say, could you tell me how to optimize BGP load sharing? And you don't have the answer to basically say, okay, 2 links, add a more specific route on one link, advertise another more specific route on another one, advertise an aggregate route on both, and then modify the metrics of each by prepending ASPass or something like that. When you can't do that, that's fine. So what we advise our people, and this is how our people get hired so easily, is if someone asks you the question, about that, just say, I'm sorry, sir, I have not had the opportunity to work with that technology yet. I'm highly motivated. I love to learn. These are the 3 things I know best. And the reason we do that is that way we can take an interview, which would basically go from here to crash and burn when you don't know something, and prove to the interviewer that you've got a lot of expertise, but in your field. So I want you to get a good background of understanding, build your firewalls, build your proxy servers, build a cloud, set up Kubernetes, set up Docker, and set up all of these things. Brenda, welcome. Always thrilled to have you. And Danish, you're back. I'll get to your question in a second. So really, Nikhil, that's what you're going to have to do. And then I want you to not only do this, but I actually want you to create a research and development section on your resume. And inside that research and development section, I want you to list all of the functions that you're doing. And that way, two things are going to happen. One is you're going to have keywords in your resume, which are going to get past resume scanners. And two, you're actually going to be able to show the manager you did it. Because look at it this way. My students, and the reason they do so well, here's just a simple reason. Regular students go and interview on the manager, ask what they've done, and they said, I've set up an S3 bucket, I've configured some EC2 instances, I set up a NAT gateway. My students could say, we built a cloud, we built firewalls from scratch, we built proxy servers from scratch, we set up virtualization from scratch in the developmental server, we've set up containers. Oh, by the way, we've done the AWS things, but they're silly easy. Once you build the cloud, everything else is easy. And you say it in a more polite way, and then you get hired. So that's really what I want you to do. So, Danish, we started with you, and then we went back and forth. So my advice is, which kind of a role is more related to dealing with clients? There's basically three kinds of roles, or four. So pre-sales roles are always dealing with clients, and we love them. Consulting systems engineer, consulting systems architect, consulting solution architect, all those roles are basically, they're very related to customers. And I've spent most of my life in interacting with customers. I used to travel 200,000 miles plus a year, every year, just visiting customers. And I worked in the consulting engineering world for a while. And when I wasn't working in the consulting engineering world, and I was still flying a couple 100,000 miles a year, the reason I was quite simply the following. I always met with customers, and the more you meet with customers, not only the better you get, but the better job you do for your company. The customer matters most. I don't care what business you're in. You never do anything that's not good for your customers. You never sell anything that's not good for your customers. And when something breaks, and things are very like, you go fix it, and you fix it as fast as possible. So Danish, these are the types of roles. If you want to get into those kinds of roles, they require much more soft skills and emotional intelligence than the roles that are someone's just coding all day. So focus on communication, collaboration, presentation, executive presence, je ne sais quoi, gravitas, all those kind of things. If you're interested, we have a program for that. You can reach out to me. I will actually, I'll drop a link to the program, but if anybody, and towards the end of this, and if anybody has any desires, I will make certain that we take care of this. Now, I see some people are here. If you're liking this content, if you can add a like, it actually helps my YouTube channel grow so I can produce more free content like this. Not mandatory, only if you like the content. But if you do, please feel free to like and share some of the free services we do. Next question. Rule says, which should I choose, AWS, Azure, or GCP? I'd probably start with AWS because it's the predominant platform right now, and then go to, I like GCP because I like the way they structure the tests, and the reason I like GCP certifications is they're also the highest paid. Why are they the highest paid? Because they're the most scarce and the most in demand. So I love to see our people pick the highest paid, most in demand, scarcest resources, and that way you're more likely to have people come to you to hire you than you have to look for them. So I would do AWS first, and I would probably do GCP. Azure, I think, is going to have massive cloud growth based upon some decisions that Amazon recently made. I think you're going to see the Azure cloud adoption rate go up high, but Azure architects typically earn the least. So I'd rather have you get the higher paying certifications and then back into Azure when you know the cloud. And and like I say, you need to learn the cloud too, not just the certifications. But when you know the cloud and you've got a good certification, everybody wants you. So Isaac Thomas, you have data center management experience in a telecom. That's good. And you're currently certified. It's been pretty hard. What do you mean by Isaac Thomas, what do you mean by data center management experience? Were you a manager, or were you setting up things like Netcool and HP OpenVIO or whatever the network management or system management software was for the day? Please let me know in the comment section, or at least the chat window. and Davy Davies, no, you cannot do anything close to building a cloud and a free tier. And if you wanted to build a cloud in the cloud environment, it would cost you 10 times more than it would actually cost you to buy a server, which you buy the server, set up and learn all these things for real, and then sell the server a month or two later for as much as you bought it. So the other part of, and while we're waiting for the answer, David, we don't do these things in the cloud, is when you do it on the cloud has already done everything for you, so you really don't have the opportunity to truly learn. We want people to learn how to build a cloud from scratch, because when you build it from scratch, then when you deal with AWS, it's just literally, it's nothing. But it's very hard to go from learning to really get cloud competent by doing AWS certifications. You could do all 12 of them and be completely cloud incompetent. But if you actually learn how to do these things first, and then you do 1 or 2 certifications, and that's it, no more than 1 or 2, your level of expertise and knowledge will be 10 times greater than everybody else's. And then when you get job interviews, they'll pay you, they'll hire you, and they will pay you so much more than the person that basically has no experience. And you don't need to have 10 years experience in work, you just have to have experience in doing it. See, one of the things that's interesting, and I went from practicing medicine on a Friday to being a senior network engineer on a Monday at one of the world's largest internet service providers. I think it was the number 3 internet service provider in a couple of days. Why? It was quite simply, I built a really good test lab. I learned a lot. I had lots of knowledge. And when they asked me questions, I could answer all of them. And when I couldn't answer one, I said, I'm sorry. I've not had the opportunity to work with it. I said, actually, I was practicing medicine on Friday and today's Monday and we're interviewing, and I got hired on the spot. But it's really a matter of just learning the cloud. And you can't learn the cloud on the cloud. You have to build the cloud first. And then after you build the cloud, then you can work with the cloud, but you need to know how it all works. Chuck Jones, that's where you're now. Starts with light or no practical knowledge. Chuck, a couple options. One, we have a complete program where we take people that are certified and then we teach them the cloud. And the feedback that I get from everyone is incredible. And we also teach interviewing, we teach all these things. And that goes for everyone. We can talk about that if anybody's interested. But the point is learn the cloud and the rest of the stuff comes back. And so I dropped a video in this about how to learn the cloud in your house. We have a structured methodology. And in the end of this call, we're releasing a video, and you'll find it on our YouTube channel on how to set up containers. So we recently set up a VMware ESXi server so you all can learn how to do virtualization. We then set up Linux on a bare metal server. Today, we took an Ubuntu system and we used the desktop that we created and we installed the Docker container. And you're going to be able to see that video right after this live stream. We're going to do some more free videos like that so you'll learn how to build all these things in your house. But it's really important for me to convey that everyone can get a job out there and they can get paid a lot more than they even imagine. But you have to understand how things work. See, I've interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people in my career. Now I interview about 100, 150 people a week. But I've interviewed thousands of people for really good jobs, and I can tell you there's always one thing in common. Here's the interview. I welcome them. I ask them to tell me about themselves. Right then and there, that can show me if it's going to be a good interview. And then I ask a technical question. Now, I am a really nice technical interviewer. I asked the client or the prospective employer, I said, what do you know best? And then I ask them questions on what they know best. And you know what happens? I ask someone about someone, what do you know best? And they give me an answer, and they don't know it at all. And then it's like, okay, well, what else do you know? And they don't know it at all. And then I'm sad. Why am I sad? Because the person that came there could be a really great person. And I don't want to interview 1 million people for a job. I want to interview one. I want to be perfect. I want to be done with the interview process in the first one. When I see the right candidate, I don't even let them leave the room before I offer them a job. Why? Because if they're that good, somebody else is going to steal them. And in the 5 jobs that I went for, in the 5 interviews, I got hired on the spot on all but one. And the one where I was all but one was a company that had 87,000 people, and they said, we're going to make you an offer. Will you accept it? And then I got an offer a week later. So it always works that way. But the reason is you got to wow the employer. And the only way you can wow the employer is by showing deep technical knowledge, soft skills, emotional intelligence, and those types of things. And that's what makes you hireable, and that's what has your salary. And it can make 6 figures difference in your salary when you've got good communication skills, good collaboration skills, high levels of emotional intelligence. It can be more than a 6-figure salary difference. So we focus on this. For example, with our clients, we focus on emotional intelligence. Why? Because individuals with higher levels of emotional intelligence earn $29,600 more on average than those that don't. Then we focus on soft skills. Why? Because when LinkedIn polled technology companies around the world, they found that soft skills were equally important to competency. So here's how I would approach looking at a job for all of you. And we'll talk about this in depth in the free webinars that we run twice a week. We run a free webinar that really we talk about, what does a manager want, how to do this. I'm going to drop the link to that webinar in the description below because I know it can make a massive difference in every one of your lives. I just popped the link there. And we can teach you how I transition from medicine to networking. We can talk about how you can do it too and how you can get your first tech job. We've been doing this kind of thing for 25 years in some way, shape, or form. So Chuck, don't worry if you're light on practical knowledge, but you're heavy on certs. We can get you the certs if you're with us. If not, we'll be releasing a lot of free videos. Now, we have a methodology and a process and a procedure to get everybody to expert level in about 16 weeks because we've done this so much. But whatever the case may be, my point is get that depth of knowledge. It's critically important. And then you'll be good. So, Chuck Jones, did I answered your question? Do you have any more questions, Chuck, before I move on to anyone else? And if you stick around to the end, there's going to be some prizes that's going to improve everybody's level of competency on the cloud. Okay, Timothy, you're good. Oh, Chuck, you have one question. Ask your question, Chuck, and then before I go to the next person. Go ahead, Chuck, you can ask your next question. You want to end up in AI and data lakes. Okay, well, and machine learning. Okay, so you want to get good at machine learning, Chuck, and you want to get good as fast as possible. So Chuck, I would say first, you're going to have some good, strong fundamentals. If you want to do machine learning, you generally speaking need to know Python. And don't worry, it's relatively easy to learn. The best way that I've ever learned machine learning, and several of my clients are, is to go find a cheap NVIDIA GPU, something on the used market, like a GTX 1060, 1070. Pop it in your computer, turn your computer into an Ubuntu Linux system, install PyTorch and the other things, experiment, and experiment some more. And you will get really good at machine learning. And when you set up your machine learning environments on your own, you will know how everything works. And then when you do it on AWS, it'll be easy. The reason I'm telling you to build it on your own is doing machine learning and using GPU optimized instances in a cloud computing environment is prohibitively expensive. We spec'd out a $20,000 machine learning system for us, and it would basically cost us $50,000 a month to run equivalent capacity in AWS versus a $20,000 one-time purchase. So when you're dealing with $600,000 a year versus $50,000, now you know why we want you to practice this in your house. For a couple $100, you can get a used GPU, and you're going to do fantastic. And when you get the used GPU, I think what you're going to find out is you're going to learn a lot of things. And of course, you can cryptocurrency mine with the GPU that you have, so you can make that GPU make money anyway when you're not using it for machine learning applications. And then when you're done with that, you can go sell the GPU. That's how I would learn machine learning. Again, I love the cloud, do lots of things on the cloud. I try and learn it the hard way, because when you do it the hard way, you have to know everything works together. And when you know how everything works together, it's simple to deploy. But if you don't know how everything works together, how on earth could you possibly ever design it or troubleshoot it when it breaks? Chuck, did I answer your question before I move on to the next? And then I think it was Timothy. Theory. Mike, how long does it take an average person who is new to the cloud to get a job in your training? What I would say is, if someone has a bit of a tech background, but not a cloud background, within about 16 weeks, we can get them super cloud competent. We can improve the communication skills, professional skills, collaboration skills, executive presence, interviewing technique, and build deep cloud competency, typically in about 16 weeks. And then when they're done, we can use it. We typically send our students to our network of recruiters who can typically get their resume in the hands of the hiring manager instead of getting stuck in HR. And we call it the HR trap, where you go to HR and HR says, you don't have 52 years of experience and 3 Olympic gold medals. We're not going to pass your resume. We use executive recruiters or tech recruiters for the following reason. We know a lot of them. We know some really great ones. An executive recruiter will take my phone calls because my students are so good that they're easy to place, and the recruiter gets paid $20,000 to $50,000 to find them a job. I don't get paid anything from that. I don't take kickbacks from anyone. I don't want to review my level of expertise in the field. I don't want to tarnish my name. So they keep all their money, and then they find my people jobs, and my people are excellent interviews, so they're easy to get hired. So it typically takes 16 weeks. I will tell you, Thierry, there are people that have gotten through in 4 weeks. In fact, I had somebody that's been in my program 2 weeks, and he was offered a job this morning. I've got someone else that's been in my program for 2 weeks, and we did like 4 practice interviews. And in this program, he's actually interviewing for a very senior role with AWS. And I've got another person that's looking at some senior roles, and they've been with me for about 3 weeks. But these are special cases. Actually, the person that got his first job is never, within 2 weeks, has never even worked in tech before. But we found him his first job. But I consider that to be lucky results. Yes, we did a couple of practice interviews, so we made his interview skills super likable. But he did get an opportunity within 2 weeks. But typically speaking, it's about 16 weeks. If somebody doesn't have a background, we let them stay in our program for 6 months, 9 months. We don't charge anymore. We don't care. We just take good care of our students until they found the career that they're looking for. Obviously, in life, there's no guarantees, but we call everyone prior to actually admitting them to the program to make sure we know they're a good fit, to make sure we have a high likelihood of success to be able to help them. And I'll pop a link to the program in the end, along with the special 25% coupon if anybody is interested, along with my phone number, so they know how to be able to reach me to ask questions, because I speak to everyone. So I hope I answered your question there. Next question. George, we spoke to you. Raul, we spoke to you. Gopi, we spoke to you. Isaac, you said data center management. Did you come back with a little more information on that? And Danish, how to get the AWS consultant job. Realistically speaking, it's a matter of just optimizing your resume, building your brand. We have a methodology to build our brand with our students to get people to know you. It's a matter of finding the right recruiters. It's a matter of mastering an interview technique. It's a matter of executive presence, communication skills, collaboration skills. That's most of it. And then the rest of it is technical competency. Now, you may think that I am obsessed, and I am, with communication skills, collaboration skills, and the such. The reason I am so obsessed with communication collaboration skills is the research shows statistically again, and again, that these skills matter more with regards to hireability and salary and career longevity than anything else. So here's where people have a hard time getting their first job. I'm going to tell you right now, 50% of what matters about you is related to your competency, and the other 50% is related to your emotional intelligence, soft skills, communication, interviewing skills. So why am I so concerned about it? Because if I can get my people to 50 out of 50 when it comes to soft skills, and I can get them to 35 or 40 out of 50 when it comes to technical experience and competency through the labs we use and our processes and our education, our people are going to walk in on an interview at an 85 to 90%. Now, the person with 10 years experience might only come in at 75% because they may not have those soft skills, but they may be a little better technically. My people will get hired first, and my people will get paid more. So yes, I'm soft skills obsessed because it makes the biggest difference in hiring. The person that's been with me for 2 weeks had good soft skills, and we had a lot of programs in the first few weeks. And we also gave him a practice interview. That's why he did so well. So that's the best answer I can give you. To get hired, you've got to focus on all of them. 50% of your time needs to be related to soft skills. And we have a plan, but if not, you've got to go find some good sources of information. Daniel Goldman talked about emotional intelligence. You've got some books that you need to learn how to read body language, because that will help you in the room. We recommend some cognitive behavior therapy books to learn how to control your emotions so you can control others' emotions. We have a plan. Basically, I was an executive coach and an MBA, and we stuck all that stuff inside of our technical competency program. So I hope I've answered your question. Okay. Raul. think Raul answered your question. Okay, Marithi, you've been offered a job to be an onboarding engineer. Great. How do you translate being an onboarding engineer to architecture? So, a couple of things that are really interesting with onboarding engineers. As a rule, an onboarding tell me what the role is in an onboarding engineer. Typically speaking, an onboarding engineer is someone that goes to an organization, they set up a policy, and then they help bring new people in, new customers, new clients. Is that what the job is, Marithi? Because if so, I can definitely help you how to translate it, but it could be something different, so I just want to understand. And fantastic theory. Marithi, are you still there? Okay, fantastic. And Theory asked, to speak to me. So I just popped my phone number. If anybody has any questions, wants to speak to me about training programs or anything, I've dropped my phone number in this group. So as we're getting through this, go through. Any more questions? And Theory, we do soft skills coaching, but the people in our program, we typically have them go through the solution architect because we find that most people need a little more certified solution architect work and the database work. And when we speak, I'll give you a quick technical interview, and we'll determine your level of technical competency and help you build a perfect plan for you. Okay, Chuck Jones, we answered. Danish, Brenda, since you have the solution architect certification, you want to concentrate on cloud security. Fantastic. Do you think it would be a good idea for me to also do the certified cloud security professional? If I was going to do cloud security, I would get a CEH or a CISSP. The reason I'm recommending one of these two certifications are those two certifications are more valued in the industry than anything else. A CEH can actually literally just get a job based on being a CEH with no other background, because the CEH program actually builds real deep technical competency. There's a written test and then there's a lab. And when you take that lab, you are in a position to basically build stuff and hack stuff, and those people are great. So like a certified solution architect professional plus a CEH, and oh my God, the job opportunities you'll have will be incredible. Just absolutely incredible. So Marithi said you're working for a SaaS, it's a company. So Marithi, if you're working for an organization and you're training new engineers, and you're meeting with a customer, for example, and you're obtaining the customer requirements, and you're figuring out what they desire to do, and then you're helping out others, that is what a solution architect does. See, I don't know how, but all these Udemy courses have actually convinced people that a certified solution, that a cloud architect spends all day configuring things with the CLI on the management console. I'm going to tell you, that couldn't be further from the truth. I've spent 20 plus years as an architect, and only in the first year did I spend all this time, typing on the keyboard using the CLI. Where I spent most of my time was truly interacting with a client, finding out their technical, business, legal, regulatory requirements. After I found that their technical, business, legal, regulatory requirements, then I could actually design a solution. Now, you can't design a solution unless you understand how everything works. Why? You need to know the limitations of your DNS system. You need to know the limitations of your server. You need to understand, what your load balancers can do and can't do. You need to understand their performance constraints. You need to understand disaster recovery, change management. This is what's really necessary to design an architecture. And you can't do that with an AWS CSA-P because it doesn't teach you how anything works. So I love the CSA-P or the Google Professional Cloud Architect. I recommend everybody get one. I'm just saying learn the cloud and the soft skills at the same time, because it's not going to be enough to get hired with just a AWS Certified Solution Architect certification, you're going to need cloud competency. And Marithi, when you're dealing with a software as a service company, they first are a cloud company. So then really it's related to translating how that experience works for someone else. Marithi, I know we've engaged and interacted several times. If you've got any more questions on how to do that, I'm happy to help you. But taking that kind of job will absolutely really benefit your cloud computing career, and I highly recommend it. Okay, let's look to the next questions. So Thierry, I'm looking forward to speaking to you. Brenda, sounds great. Thierry, you're here. Maurice, you said thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? And if so, I'm going to basically show people a link to our program. I'm also going to offer a 25% discount off of our program to anybody that's here. And I'm also going to do this. I'm going to ask 3 technical questions. And if I can get 3 good answers, I'll be happy. If I can't get 3 good answers, I'm going to give everyone free access to our AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Training, which is more of an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional program. We normally charge $100 for this. I'm going to give a coupon code so that everyone can get it for free at the end of today. We even even when we deal with people that have a CSA-P, we give them a technical interview. And when they don't know, we have them go through this program and they all tell us, oh my God, we learned so much. So I'm going to make it completely available for free because I want everyone here to actually have that opportunity. I'm also going to add a link to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. This is a program that took 25 years to build. I've been coaching people forever. It used to be that we'd have to charge someone $450 or $400 an hour to do this level of coaching. And now with the technology that's there, we can do this online at a very cheap price. And to let everyone know how we pick the price, I want every one of my students to get the best return of investment of their lifetime. If the typical cloud architect earns $579 a day in the US, a good cloud architect earns over $750 a day in the US. So we feel that if we can get our program is paid for if we can help someone get a good cloud architect job within 1 day sooner. But realistically speaking, we can save the average person 3 to 6 months or more of wasted time and effort. Plus, we can also typically raise a salary $10,000 to $50,000 by giving them the soft skills and communication. So our program will pay for itself many times over. And that's why we did it. If anybody's interested in that program, I'm going to drop the link to this here. And it is 25% off Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And so there's that. Now, Thierry, which certification do you recommend to start with? Let's speak after this call so I can actually find your baseline knowledge. And then a walk in the cloud said, George, the soft skill training helps everyone. I will tell you that at one point I hired a $400 an executive coach, and the difference it made in my life, career, and salary was so dramatic you wouldn't even believe it. I mean, it was the ability to basically pay for a really nice Mercedes once a year in cash, based upon learning soft skills, and it was fast. So that's why I'm soft skills crazy, and love to work with you if you're interested, George. Again, my numbers, I'll pop it in there. So I speak to everyone. Walk in the clouds. You're back to the wall financially. I've been there, and you're planning to change careers from a recruitment freelancer to a job as soon as possible. Well, here's what I can tell you. I'm going to drop in 3 links that are free. Nothing out there is as good as our program without taking an MBA program. But when you don't have that option, take our free webinar and learn our system for getting hired. Also, here's the link to our free Certified Solution Architect Associate book. Also, a walk on the clouds. Every Monday, we have a free weekly mentoring session for certified solution architects. We get people come from all around the world, and they get trained. On our YouTube channel, we have videos every week. We also found that one of the ways that people can get promoted best is actually to change the way they behave in a meeting. And we even have a guide on what to do in a meeting to improve your career. And okay, so all this is going to be free. Love to see all of you register. Now, I told you that I was going to give free gifts to everyone that's here. So what I'm going to do is this. I am going to give out free Certified Solution Architect Associate training to everyone on this call. There's 25 people here, so I'm gonna make 30 coupons just in case to make sure everybody's good. And okay, so here we go. That's 30 coupons. Now I'm going to drop the link into our Certified Solution Architect Associate training, which is not really Certified Solution Architect Associate training. It's more Certified Solution Architect Professional training that we actually created for people, but we call it Certified Solution Architect Associate because it will be just as easy as taking the Certified Solution Architect Associate or Cloud Practitioner, because we're very good at taking complex things and make them simple and understand. And if anybody is, and here is the link to our Certified Solution Architect Associate program. Hi, Io. It's always good to see you. That's the link to our Certified Solution Architect Associate program. And for the people in this group today, because you showed up for my meeting, you asked a lot of good questions, and I value your time. And because I value your time and efforts, even though while we're giving you some coaching, you're still taking your time. And I want to know that we do everything we can for everyone we interact with. So anybody that's interested in the Certified Solution Architect Associate class, this coupon code makes the SAA course free. Ian Rowe, wow, always good to hear from you. Ian, thank you so much. So Ian is one of my students. Ian, I'm going to read this message. I'm thrilled you concur that Mike's training is the best on the planet. Thank you, Ian. I have seen my skills improve in 2 weeks. It's amazing. Don't hesitate to enhance your life today. Ian, I'm beyond grateful. I'm moved every time you and I have a conversation because each day I watch you grow so much, and it's super exciting to me. And I know we interact a lot, as I do with all my students, and you're making me proud every day by the second. So thank you. Anyone else have any more questions for me? Edmore, hello, it's a real pleasure. And George, you've been unemployed for 7, getting a lot of interview, but mostly salary and no experience, but good experience in enterprise. Yeah, we're experts on that. We know exactly how to take people and show that their expertise is relevant. We do it absolutely every day. Like I said, I went from medicine to literally to senior network engineer overnight. Demario Williams, you're welcome. I'm going to try and do a webinar every week to help people. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that you attend our free cloud computing webinar, the one that we're going to have tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm sorry, Tim, we're going to have tomorrow at noon, and we have Mondays at 9 a.m. It will be a great presentation. It'll be on Zoom, so you'll be able to ask questions live and things like that. Walk on the clouds. Can you ask me 2 questions to gauge my technical baseline? Absolutely, walk on the clouds. So a walk on the clouds, what certification level do you have right now? Walk on the clouds? What's your... I walk on the clouds are. Can you still let me know that you're still there? Okay, Edmore, pleasure to speak with you as well. And we're always happy to have everyone here. George, if you let me know your background, I can ask you a question. Otherwise, I I can definitely answer your question in tomorrow's live stream, where it'll be much easier because you can actually answer because it'll be Zoom and you can ask a face-to-face question. But if you're here, I'm happy to do so. Okay, well, George, you know how to find us, and I dropped the link in for tomorrow's webinar. Please sign up, join the webinar, and I will happily answer any questions you have, gauge technical knowledge and the such, and definitely do anything I can to help all of you find fantastic cloud architect positions. Io, how long do you have to practice hands-on to be comfortable to start applying for jobs? Io is a really great question, and it depends on how much time, effort, and dedication you actually have to do things. For example, Ian, who's one of my students, is spending 12 hours a day learning things. And I gave him a project that said, I want you to learn IAM. And within 2 days, he set up an Active Directory server, wrote a 115-page document on how to do it. And we're going to be sharing it with the world soon. So if you have that, I've seen people get cloud competent in 4 weeks. Typically speaking, I'd say it's about 4 to 6 months to really be somewhere great. And Edmore, you want to set up a complete CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins, and okay, that's reasonable. And Seth Thierry, this program lasts until people. It's a great question you have. So it's a 16-week program, but we have people that literally stick around for 6 months if they need to, 9 months. We don't kick anyone out of the program ever. Typically speaking, after they've been hired, we have other things that are related to executive coaching, but until someone gets their job, they can be welcome in our program, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. And if people want to stick around a little bit in the program and participate in some of the group mentoring and or private LinkedIn groups where we support each other, we're typically there. But once people get a really good job, we try to transition them into another low-cost executive coaching program. But if someone needs to be there for a year to get the perfect job, we're happy to keep there. How do you walk in the clouds? How do you access the free course? Just use the link that I put for the free CSA, and then buy with the coupon code that I gave you, which is 100% off coupon. I've already seen quite a few people in this group have actually done so already, and you'll be good to go. I'll leave this window open for a little bit. How do people interact? I'm trying. I can drop a link to the course one more time. So for you, so the coupon code is going to. Here is the coupon code. CODE. And I made 5 more coupons in the number of people that are on the course. So hurry up and get yours, in case when this video goes, it'll end up going online, and I don't want someone else to get it that wasn't part of the call. So if you're interested in this, get it as soon as you possibly can. And I will also walk on the clouds. I'm also going to give you one more link to the course to make it a little easier for you. George, do I know any interns? Okay, walk on the clouds, no certifications. Okay, I'll give you a quick technical thing. George, do I know of any internship programs? I used to run one here for my students, and I run one constantly. I don't have the time to really run the quality internship programs that I used to. To me, an internship program is something where the intern learns and the intern develops. And you have a lot of time and effort to mentor an intern. Of the interns we've had, they've all gotten great jobs. They've all done some pretty incredible things in their lives for the most part. The key with an internship is basically, if someone's working for you as an intern, you actually have to, and yes, George, now I can see your answers and I will respond to you in a moment. Or walk in the clouds, I said I would get right back to you. But maybe the voice got lost somewhere along the way, but I promise to get right back to you. So regarding an internship, if you're going to get an internship, it can't be where you're making YAML templates all day. It can't be where you're just adding IAM users all day, doing nothing other than click things. An internship's got to be a place where you're going to get real experience. You're going to get knowledge. You're going to get training. They're going to talk to you about, how to communicate, how to write, how to document. If it's not that, it's basically just a waste of your time. Sure, it looks good on paper, but if you build a cloud lab in your house, you can get much more experience than that. So we love our interns. We've worked with lots of interns over the years, and I highly recommend internships. I created a video on our channel about how to find an internship that actually helps you. I'm going to drop a link to that below. It's very important when you do an internship that you get the right kind of internship, because I don't want anybody to be free labor. What I want people to actually do is get an internship that can and will make a difference in their career and their life. So let me find, was this the one?
Are you looking to learn how to
Okay, here's the link.
first cloud architect
bear
job
with me.
without experience? Well, then this video.
I'm trying to. Okay, so there's George. So there's a walk in the clouds and there's Thierry. I thought I answered your question. Yeah, I answered your question, Thierry. Is my program lifetime? Nobody gets kicked out. What I was saying is nobody gets kicked out of the program at all. People can stay in that program as long as it takes for them to find what they need. So no time. There's no time limit on the program. I mean, after people get their first jobs and they're in their careers for a while, we typically do more of an executive coaching program with them because we want to give them a different level of opportunities, and it's a separate set of training. But I will tell you that, realistically speaking, if someone's there for 2 months, 12 months, or even 18 months, I don't really care. All I care is that they do well in the end. They get the job of their dreams. They're well paid. They're hired, and they're happy. That's all I care about our clients. We have to delight every client we take. I've got a brand that took me 25 years to build, of taking good care of clients and customers, and I would never destroy that. So if it takes as long as it takes is how long we keep people there. Now, a walk in the cloud said no certifications, but you still want me to do, and your internet connection is slow. Can I hear you? A walk in the clouds, I'm going to start with basic and I'll get complicated. So what is the difference between IOPS and throughput? This is a basic CSA-A level question. A walk on the clouds. Can you answer that? And if the answer is no, we expect that. Don't worry about that. So for the rest of the people in this group, if you don't know the answer to the basic, what is the throughput versus what is IOPS, you need a lot more cloud competency. Our students would get that. So throughput is the amount of stuff that can be moved. So think of taking a big tractor trailer and filling it full of boxes, and that's the throughput. IOPS is related to latency. So input-output operations per second is how many times you can read and write to the hard drive. So if you need low latency, you need high IOPS. If you need high throughput, then that's in terms of megabit a second. So when you're dealing with an NVMe drive, for example, like the ones we have in our servers that our students use, we have a 1 million IOPS hard drive that we're using so they get rapid access and low latency. But that thing can also do about 3,500 megabit a second. So when students have to copy files and they're copying virtual machines, they don't have to wait a long period of time. So for us, that is an absolutely essential component of knowing these kind of things. So I guess I'll ask one more question, a walk in the clouds, and then we'll probably end this call, but we'll have another one next week. But I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend everybody here attend that free cloud computing webinar that we do tomorrow. It will make a big difference in your career. So I guess another basic certified solution architect level, associate level, or even sub-associate level question would be, what does stateful mean in the context of a firewall or a security group? Okay. Well, I'm going to open that up to anyone in the group, and then I'm going to answer it, and then we'll have another call tomorrow. And I strongly recommend everybody join my call. So, can anybody answer what do I mean by stateful? Okay, welcome to the call is great. Tell me what I mean by stateful, what it actually means. Okay. Jesus, that is not what we mean by stateful, although that's technically true, but that's not what we mean by stateful, and I'm going to explain that. A walk on the clouds, can you answer that? You had said you got to walk on the clouds. Do you want to take a stab at that? Okay, does anyone else want to try and answer that question? Okay, Nikhil, that actually is not what's meant by stateful either. But I will explain it. And for anybody that can't answer these basic Certified Solution Architect associate questions, please do my Certified Solution Architect training, the one I give you for free. Okay, George Stateful says security groups. Stateful is, nope, that's not really what we mean by stateful. A cache, an outbound connection will be allowed back in. That has nothing to do, that actually is true, but it doesn't mean, it doesn't answer the what is stateful. Where ETH traffic has already been authorized, that's not what we mean by stateful. EN security groups are stateful, yes. But okay, so here's the difference between stateful and stateless. All firewalls are stateful. So what happens is, in a stateful environment, the firewall, in many cases, the load balancer, okay, Gopi, actually that's not related either. I'm going to answer this at this point. It's kind of obvious that most people don't understand stateful, and that's okay. I knew this because I've interviewed so many people that have an AWS background, and they know that a security group is stateful, but no one knows what that means. And that's okay. That's why we're doing these training programs. Stateful means that the firewall or the security group watches what goes on in the connection. So in other words, let's say you're behind a firewall, like most of you are in your house, or at least a NAT instance, or a NAT gateway or something. When you go to outbound to the internet, the firewall looks at the state of the connection. It actually looks at the TCP state. So it's going to say, when you make a connection outbound to the firewall, you send a SYN to the web server. The web server replies with an acknowledgement to your SYN, and then a SYN to open a connection with you. The firewall tracks the state of the connection, and it knows to allow you return traffic because it's watching all the traffic that goes through. So what does a firewall do? Yes, it keeps bad stuff out, but the way it allows you return traffic in is it watches everything you do, and it can say, okay, you went to the Go Cloud Architects. I went to the Go Cloud Architects page. My traffic is allowed back. If the Go Cloud Architects page tried to come into me, it couldn't because it's a stateful firewall. If I want to go to a web page, it's going to watch and track the state of the connection, and then it'll allow my return traffic back. Now, if it wasn't watching the state of the connection, the firewalls would have no idea to know what's my return traffic. So when they say a security group is stateful, it's because it's a firewall on the server. And it's literally watching the traffic that's coming in and saying, okay, the return traffic is allowed out because it's watching or monitoring the state of the connection. And that's what's meant by stateful. Stateless basically means it's not tracking the connection, so it has no idea what's going out and what's going in. And that's why network ACLs are applied. Now, I guess one more question. Does anybody know where you... we'll do one more question while we're at it. When would you use a network ACL? When would you use a security group? And would you use both? And if so, why or why not? Okay, well, we'll work through this together. For this last question, a network ACL keeps unwanted traffic out of a subnet, where a security group keeps unwanted traffic out of an instance, or like a server instance or a service. So what are you going to use in the high security environment? Both. You're going to use the network ACL to keep stuff out of the subnet. You're going to use a security group to keep stuff out of the server. In a high security environment, you know what else you're going to do? You're actually going to add a host-based firewall to the server. And you're going to add an external firewall and an intrusion detection and intrusion prevention service. So it's not that one's more granular than the other. It's knowing, like Io said, network ACLs are at the subnet. Security groups are at the instance level. So you need both. You'll always have to use both. And trust me, those two are only 10% of an entire security posture. And that's why we do this. So excellent job, Io. So I want to thank you all for your wonderful participation, sharing your time with me. Yes, WAF is a form of a firewall, David, and Shield is a form of DDoS protection, which we can talk about on another call. So I hope to see you all back next Wednesday. I strongly hope to see you all on our free webinar tomorrow about how to get your first cloud architect job. I promise you, you're going to have a good experience there. And if anybody wants to call me to discuss our program, I will pop my phone number down one more time. And Gopi, know the network ACL is to keep traffic to block traffic at the subnet. Thank you, Marithi. Thank you, Grish. Or Garish. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to mispronounce your name. I can barely see the computer screen from this distance. So apologies. But it's been a really wonderful time and a wonderful experience. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you, David Davies. Your computer keeps hanging. I'll walk in the clouds. Come to my call tomorrow. I know you had some more questions with your computer hanging. I promise to answer them. Gopi, a security group is actually at the instance level, not work at the subnet. Yes. Abad Berkey, it's a real pleasure to have you. It's always good to talk to fellow CCIUs. Basic question: how can you start learning GCP? Well, what I would say, Shashank Tally, is make sure you know the cloud first. If you truly understand the cloud, then what you can GCP is nothing. If you understand AWS, you'll understand GCP. The cloud provider is irrelevant. If you know how the cloud works, I took the GCP exam just based on cloud computing knowledge, based on building cloud computing environments and data centers without even touching the Google Cloud, and it was a nothing exam for the professional cloud architect because I knew the cloud and I knew the data center and I knew the network, and that's why I'm trying to tell everyone here: learn how it all works. When you learn how it works, if you're at Azure, if you're at GCP, if you're at Amazon, it's irrelevant. So we can definitely help all of you get to your goals, and we're happy to do so. Look forward to seeing you, as many of you as I can, on the webinar tomorrow. And yeah, you're going to need more than 4 gigs of RAM to do some of these labs, but we can work with you on the walk in the clouds. But you're definitely going to need more than 4 gigs of RAM, but we'll figure something out for your particular situation. We'll see you next week on the Wednesday call. Please, 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 everyone. We released a video that today that could make a big difference in your knowledge if you don't have this experience. It's a complete and total fundamental question. And it's going to be on containers for cloud architects.
Do you desire a career in cloud computing?
This is a very special project that we're working on. Please watch this video. How to get a job. Let's just say one more. Yam and Mustafa, how to get a job with AWS without experience. One more cert would be helpful. Yamini, Mustafa, Ali, I don't actually know your background, so let's do this. Attend my call tomorrow or Monday, and we'll actually ask you the questions, and I'm happy to do it. Otherwise, we can answer this question on next Wednesday's webinar. Loved all the time I've spent with you all this morning, and I promise to spend more. So please attend my webinar tomorrow. And if for some reason you can't attend the webinar tomorrow, you can attend it on Monday. And we actually can speak live via Zoom. We'll be able to see each other, hear each other, talk to each other, and I promise to answer anybody's questions. Thank you all so much. It's been a true pleasure to work with you all today, and have a great day.